Hey man, how you doing? It's Rashawn the Doodad coming to you with the Dead Wrong Podcast, Unsolicited Sport Talk, episode 10. Yeah. Listen, man, incredible week in NFL football, starting on December 25th, where it was not so incredible. Kansas City go against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and just like every other team that goes against Kansas City Chiefs, they forgot how to play football. And so the Chiefs just trampled all over them. Not really much to discuss there. Same as the Baltimore Ravens versus the Houston Texans. They just trashed the Texans. And honestly, I mean, I was streaming on Netflix, but I was streaming on my phone and watching the Sixers game. I didn't like it. And a game that was even worse than that was the Chicago Bears versus the Seattle Seahawks. Final score 6-3. What? Terrible for football. You guys were the only game on and you did not deliver, man. Geno Smith's trying to do what he can, even though he's playing kind of hurt. And Caleb Williams, man, I don't know what this guy is doing out there. I don't know if it's the team. I know the offensive line ain't really blocking that well, but goodness, he missed wide open guys. I mean, guys are wide open right in his line of sight, his outlets, his safety valves, and he's not hitting them, man. For a guy that came out of college so cocky and so arrogant, he has underperformed. And honestly, I think Jaden Daniels was more deserving to be the number one pick as currently constructed today with the body of work that they both have had this season. And, you know, could be the organization, could be the rest of the team. I don't know, but I feel like he does have some weapons. Their defense plays decent, but yeah, I don't feel like all of that talk that he had and saying he wanted stock in Chicago Bears or whatever team drafted him, bro. Like, you don't have the body of work to be making such demands, and it just showed this year. That's why you just gotta shut up sometimes, let your actions speak for itself. You know what I mean? But anyway, we had some Saturday football, and honestly, I think this is one of the best advents in football right now is to have football on Saturdays. I guess they don't want to compete with the college football games on Saturdays when the college football is being played. But at the same time, I just feel like instead of it being a Thursday night slot, maybe we need to do some investigating to see if maybe it's better for the league as well as for the players that they play on Saturday instead of Thursday night. That way their bodies have more time to heal. They have more prep. It's just maybe something to look in by the competition committee. But anyway, the only game that I really felt was decent was the Rams versus the Cardinals. And maybe it's because they're all NFC West. And I was really hoping that the Cardinals will play spoiler to the Rams, but it didn't happen. Competitive game. It came down to a game-sealing interception thrown by Kyler Murray, but he was pretty much running for his life the entire game. Made some good scrambles, made some good throws. They just don't have a complete team. And the Rams, I feel like they were playing down to their competition, going from the Rams team that I seen against the Buffalo Bills to the Rams team that I seen against the Cardinals. It was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I feel like with Matthew Stafford, Hall of Fame quarterback, still playing out of his mind. You got Puka Nacua, you got Cooper Kupp, you got Kyron Williams, man. Like, you do have a squad, and their defense is playing well, considering the fact that they just lost Aaron Donald. You know what I mean? Like they're still playing well. They're still balling out. And I thought they would play the spoilers, the Cardinals would to the Rams, but they didn't. And with the Washington Commanders win last night, they essentially eliminated the Seattle Seahawks by the Commanders beating the Falcons, and they ushered in the Los Angeles Rams as the NFC crowned divisional champ. So, yeah, that's that. But let's talk about the Commanders. The Commanders versus the Falcons. It was an amazing game. Started off on Michael Penix's side with an interception, you know, bad drives, but he settled down, got his nerves together, and after Jaden Daniels do Jaden Daniel things, he takes the team down, they score a touchdown, and then you got Michael Penix, he comes down and he responds. And they're going back and forth the entire game with a couple of minutes to go. The Washington Commanders, they go up 24-17. So now this is Michael Penix Jr.'s time to see what he's made of. Can he put together a game-winning drive? And the young man delivered. He did have a couple of throws that were errant, but at the same time, he made the times on time when they needed to be had. And credit to Drake London and Kyle Pitts, because they made the catches that needed to be made. And especially Kyle Pitts, man, who was a draft choice by the Atlanta Falcons and kind of fell down the depth chart. He hasn't been panning out to what they expected him to be in his first year or two, but he came through in the clutch, and he's a big receiver, man. He went and got it in the end zone, and Michael Penix let it loose before he even went into his break. So Michael Penix Jr., you could tell that he has those reps under his belt from being in college for all of those years. And no, if you don't know who Michael Penix Jr. is, he was the quarterback from Washington. They went to the college football championship last year. They did get smoked by the Michigan Wolverines, but at the same time, with his body of work, you could tell that he has what it takes to be a starter in this league, man. Credit to him. But who else but Jaden Williams? You know, it was 24-24. I'm thinking there's going to be shades of last week when Jaden Williams took the team down in like 46 seconds and scored a game-winning touchdown on the Philadelphia Eagles, which would happen to be one of the top 5 defenses in the league. But you know what? The Falcons defense stood up and they did what they were supposed to do. They got the ball back into their offense and into their playmakers' hands with the game on the line. Mismanagement of time. They had the ball. Completed pass about 27 yards down to the 45-yard line of the Washington Commanders with 35 seconds left. Instead of taking the timeout when they had 2 in their pockets, like, what are you going to do with them then? You're going to take them home and let them simmer or something? Bro, you got to use them things. They're only good in the game. So with 33 seconds left, instead of burning the time out, he has the team run up on the ball, throw the ball. It wasn't incompletions, thank God, because it stopped the ball. But there's some shades of Eberflus. That got my man cooked. He got fired, got the burn notice from the Bears because of a situation similar to that. And what do? You get bailed out. So even with all of that, all the mishaps and everything, with 2 seconds 2 seconds left, they get bailed out with a holding call, pass interference, a spot foul. They get the ball on like the 36-yard line, 2 seconds left with the game on the line. They give the ball to the field goal kicker, who is a second stringer, so to speak. Man, the ball was lined up. Raheem Morris was taking his belt off, and the ball died in the air with about 4 yards to go and landed right in front of the goalpost. Never seen anything like that, man. It was straight on, spot on, but it just didn't have enough under it to keep it going, man. And in essence, it went to overtime. Washington Commanders called tails. They got it. According to the people, tails never fails. That time, it didn't fail. They got the ball, and the Falcons never even got a chance. Jaden Daniels did what he did. He scrambled, handed the ball off, bootleg runs, and he capped it off with a touchdown pass to Zach Ertz. Punched their ticket into the playoffs, pretty much eliminated the Atlanta Falcons and eliminated the Seattle Seahawks, even though we weren't playing. You know what I mean? So that was an incredible game, man. Hats off to Jaden Daniels. He looks good. Rookie of the year. Book it. And then we had the creme de la creme game, man. Oh, yeah. Creme de la creme. The Philadelphia Eagles versus the Dallas Cowboys, even though we all knew that it was potentially going to be a blowout because they don't have their starting team. They made it interesting. They were driving on their first drive, and CJGJ stopped it with a pick six, and he started to score for the day. But then they were driving again, and the defense stood up. Then the offense started rolling. Kenny Pickett was looking all right. He got smoked by Michael Parsons, put him out of the game. And then what happened? The third string came in. The third string QB came in, and he was balling. He threw a touchdown pass to Devontae Smith and to A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown ends up throwing the ball into the crowd, and that's the guy's first career touchdown in the NFL. So he had to barter with the fan in the stands and promise him a game-worn jersey that would be signed in order to get that ball back. And that was for Tanner McKee, product of Stanford, man. But what about Sa-2K Barkley? He got the 2,000 yards. Amazing. 9th all-time in NFL history. So I ask y'all, what do you think Nick Sirianni and Saquon's thought process should be for this? You're 101 yards away from breaking the NFL all-time rushing record. And I understand you're like, yo, we got a bigger picture. But what are the odds that you will ever get this close again in the history of your life? Anything can happen at any day, anytime, any moment. Like I say, I go to Saquon, I'm like, listen, man, we're going to try to get it in the first half. If you could get it, that's it. But that's all you're playing. You can't play the second half. We need you for the stretch run. You know what I mean? But the New York Football Giants, they have one of the worst rushing defenses in the league. So I say, man, pound the ball, have a game plan. Don't just like, yo, we're going to throw it to Saquon. But I feel like within 2 quarters, he can get that 101 yards, break the record. And this is for history, something that his kids in the future can look at and be like, man, look, my dad is the all-time leading rusher ever in NFL history. You know what I mean? People in later generations might not even believe his kids and grandkids. You got to cement this in your legacy. And I think they still going to have a chance to make it to the Super Bowl. They're going to have a harder path than a lot of other people, but at the same time, they are equipped to make the long haul. They have a bomb squad, and if Jalen Hurts can read these defenses and not get shook by the blitzes, and he can read them, and he can get rid of the ball and stop holding the ball, I feel like they are a surefire thing to make it to the Super Bowl. But that is if Jalen Hurts is playing out of his mind. And I don't want to say out of his mind, but just playing good, playing well, because him playing well is better than a lot of other players playing elite. You know what I mean? So I say play Saquon first 2 quarters. He'll get it. And yeah, he'll get it. He'll get it. I believe he'll get it. Give the ball to Sa-2K Barkley and let them run it down their throat, man. I think it can happen. I think they should make it happen. And I'm on board with it because you know what? If you are ready for the playoffs, this is the furthest that he's probably ever going to make it in his life. I say let's make it to the Super Bowl, but let's do first things first. Cement yourself in the legacy of the NFL forever. And how about them damn Vikings, man? I said it once and I say it again. I can't really stand. I don't want to say I can't stand Sam Darnold. And it all goes back to the first when they beat the 49ers that year. And he's walking down the tunnel and they got video of him saying, "Yeah, mother effer, that's for cutting me." You know what I mean? And so I kind of got a little chip on my shoulder for that, but I can't do nothing. My team's eliminated. So, shout out to Sam Darnold. The Minnesota Vikings are doing good. They got a nice little marriage that they got going on between Kevin O'Connell, their head coach and play caller, and Brian Flores, their defensive coordinator, man. That defensive coordinator, man, he always is confusing these quarterbacks. He's always walking up the guys to the line and then dropping back. You don't know if they're blitzing. You don't know if they're coming back. You have people from the secondary blitzing while the people from the front are going back. Like, man, it confuses me, and I'm not even playing football, so I can imagine what it looks like for a starting quarterback. You know what I mean? So a dude like Jordan Love, who is so even killed, man, he looked like he didn't know what the heck was going on. They had him confused the entire night. So credit to Brian Flores, man. He's an amazing defensive coordinator. And him and Kevin O'Connell, man, their creativity, they are building what looks to be a juggernaut team heading into the playoffs. And if the 49ers lose to the Detroit Lions tonight, which I'm sure they probably will, you know what I mean? That means that next Sunday's game, Minnesota Vikings versus the Detroit Lions, is for the #1 seed for all the marbles. It's the game of the year of the regular season, should I say. You know what I mean? And kind of a Super Bowl of Super Bowls within itself. So I think, man, that's going to be fireworks. Then we're going to see who's who. Is it the Detroit Lions or is it the Minnesota Vikings that are going to be the juggernaut? And do the Philadelphia Eagles have something to say about it? But about that game, the Detroit Lions, not the Detroit Lions, the Minnesota Vikings versus the Green Bay Packers, man, it was a one-sided affair until the second half. Because Jordan Love, like I said, man, he really wasn't able to complete passes. It was mostly 3 and outs. The defense kind of looked like they were getting cooked, but that's because they weren't getting any help from the offense. If your defense is staying out there for 15 plays and then they get to sit down for 180 seconds and then they got to go back out there for another 15-play drive, nobody's gonna be chilling. They're going to be freaking tired. They're going to be gassed. And that's why the offense got to help the defense. Defense got to help the offense. And, man, I'm just looking forward to these guys next week having a game that's going to be absolute fireworks. Detroit Lions versus the Minnesota Vikings, man. I say, who is the MVP of the league before I go? I think it's Josh Allen, but Josh Allen and Saquon Barkley are neck and neck. I say that the reason why I believe Saquon Barkley deserves a nod at it is because of his impact on this team. The impact that he has is equivalent to the Christian McCaffrey trade when the 49ers got him. They elevated to such an astronomical level when he came, and his playmaking ability, we've seen from him doing reverse hurdles and just making something out of nothing in his vision. Saquon Barkley, the biggest treasure ever given up on by the New York Giants, he has a case to be the MVP. But what about Josh Allen? What about Josh Allen? He is supposed to be in a retool year, but at the same time, he lost the number one receiver on his team, and it elevated him because instead of honing in on one specific guy, it was addition by subtraction because now, without having to hone in on this one guy, he's distributing the ball even more touchdowns, more guys getting targets, more guys happier to block. I feel like he is more valuable to his team than Saquon is because I feel like Jalen Hurts is the most valuable person on the Eagles. They're going to live and die by what Jalen Hurts is able to do. Because the defense is one of the top 5 defenses. But if Jalen Hurts isn't doing what he's supposed to do, because his hands are on the ball every single play, then the Eagles will tank. So that's my only thing is that Saquon is valuable, but he's not the most valuable person on his team. That's my take. Josh Allen for MVP. Play Sa-2K Barkley and let him break that record. This is Rashawn, the Dude Dad, episode 10, Dead Wrong Podcast, Unsolicited Sport Talks. Let's go.